Hello everyone, and welcome to my new character analysis introduction for Marvel Puzzle Quest for Vision, the Android Avenger. So, Vision was just added to the game. He is going to be the last Avengers character for the tie-in with the Age of Ultron event. So, let's go over the character. First, I want to just show you his cover. Behold the Vision! Looks very intimidating. The Vision is a synthezoid created by Ultron to destroy the Avengers. After battling Earth's mightiest heroes and discovering Ultron's true motives, Vision had a change of heart and became an Avenger himself. Seems like an okay cover. The design seems to be based on the movie for his in-game art. His health is 9,690. Which is okay, but after the recent health buffs, it's not super high, but it's a little bit above average for other 3 stars. His match damage ranking goes from blue to red to yellow. So he has 3 different skills, but really he actually has more skills than any other character in a way. So I'm going to get to that in a minute. So first, I'll just quickly go over the names of the moves. So he has his blue, which is density heavy, his red, which is attack protocol, and his yellow, which is density light. So what's the deal with this density heavy and density light? And the attack protocol isn't really the full name of the move. So basically Vision has this ability to add special tiles to the board that change his density, which if he's heavy, he'll do more damage, and if his density is light, he's going to be able to make damage he receives less. So I'll read the description for blue, for density heavy. Now this is at 3 covers, and take note that both yellow and blue cost 5 AP. And all of their numbers are actually the same as long as you have the same number of covers. It's just one is for defense and one is for offense. So blue is for offense. So Vision increases his density, making himself incredibly heavy. Creates a density heavy blue 4-turn countdown tile. While this tile is on the board, Vision deals 389 more damage, and his red power becomes Heavy Strike. Destroys any existing density tile. So that means that you can't have both a light density and a heavy density tile out at the same time. That does create some serious issues, which I will get into later. But right now I just want to show you what his level 4 damage is going to be. So he's actually doing now 500 at 4 covers in blue, and at 5 covers in blue he does 723 damage. So this is additional damage over any damage that the Vision does. This only applies to Vision damage that the Vision does. So it's not like with the strike tile where any character that attacks is going to get the benefit of this countdown. It's only going to impact matches done by the Vision or his red attack move. So for the difference in damage between 3, 4, and 5 covers. So between 3 and 4 he gets 111 more damage, and between 4 and 5 he gets 223 more damage. Which means between 3 and 5 that's an additional 334 damage. I think that you need to have 5 in blue because in general offense is always more important than defense in this game, and I think because as we'll see later, that's the best way to maximize his damage with his red move. So let's just see what the in-game animation is for density heavy, and also to see how the damage gets applied. Okay, so let's just see the animation first. I guess that's supposed to be his weight increasing so he comes crashing down from above. So now what this does is you're going to be doing additional damage for anything matched by Vision. So normally if Vision were to make a yellow match, he would do a total of 183 damage. So with his blue at 5 in covers, he does 906 damage. So it seems like a pretty straightforward damage adding move. In terms of it stacking with other moves, it's not like a strike tile that anybody can get the benefit of it. So let's go back and see the rest of his moves. I am going to skip his red for a moment because his yellow is basically exactly the same as his blue, except his yellow is that vision reduces his density and becoming intangible, create a density light yellow 4-turn countdown tile. While this tile is on the board, vision reduces damage to himself by 723 and his red power becomes light disruption. Destroys any existing density tile. So let's just see what that would mean in action. Okay, so first let's see the animation for density light. So I guess he's floating up because he's lighter now. So I want you to take note, I am fighting level 327 enemies. So the match damage that they're dishing out is huge. I'm talking 300 damage per match. So I should have 723 damage match reduction. So I shouldn't be getting any match damage from these strong guys as long as I have the vision out front. So let's see if that works. Well, they matched away my yellow tile on the first turn, but it did completely nullify the impact of that match damage. I think that's a good illustration of why relying on these countdown time tiles is pretty bad. As you will be able to see in a moment, this does not help his teammates. If I put Black Widow out front now, she's still taking full damage. So I think I've shown that there are some serious drawbacks to both his blue and his yellow. The biggest drawback is that Vision needs to tank his colors to get them to work. If Vision is not the one making the match damage, or then he's not going to be blocking the attack with his yellow, and he's not going to be dishing out the extra damage with his blue, which is a huge drawback that really limits the teammates you can use with him, which I'll discuss later, but that really makes it that you're dependent on the board setup as well, because even if you have his colors perfect so that no teammates match the same colors as him with the same level of damage, then you still might not be able to make those matches because the board might not be set up. The second biggest drawback is that his tile can be matched away before you get the full 4 turns worth. So, for example, the blue, if you get the full 4 turns, you're getting an extra 2,892 damage for that 5 AP, assuming you make each match with the Vision afterwards. That's pretty huge, but let's be honest now, we just saw that yellow tile get matched on the first turn. You can't control where this tile goes. So it's not very useful, and you can't ever expect it to last the full 4 turns. It would be great if it did, but on average you're probably only going to get 3 turns with it. Maybe you will get really unlucky like I just did and get only 1 turn. So I think it's very important to consider that when evaluating the character. So I think that because of the fact that it might not last that many turns, you don't want to waste anything in yellow, because even if you block for 2 turns, you're still missing out on the same benefits that come with the attack, because you can dish out much more damage with the red, which we're going to discuss next. So the red is called Attack Protocol, but it's really 3 separate moves. One of them is called Solar Beam, one of them is called Light Disruption, and the other is called Heavy Strike. So the red Solar Beam move is just the default move. If you get 10 red AP, then he's going to do a move that at 3 covers deals 1,115 damage and destroys random plus of tiles, which means 5 tiles in a plus shape. So that's the standard move. So let's just take a quick look at that. I'm going to bump this up to 5 covers and yellow down to 3 because you're never going to have any desire for any other combination besides this in reality. So let's see his red in action. Now this is without any density tiles out. If you were to have a density tile out, this move would actually be something different. So keep that in mind. It's the only move which has 3 separate moves in one, but you only get the benefit of one of them. So here's Solar Beam at 5 levels, 5 covers. Okay, it caused a minor cascade. Might not always happen, probably won't. And it dealt a decent amount of damage, but not very much. So that's the regular red attack. But seeing the damage is basically only 271 damage per AP you're spending, plus whatever matches you get from the potential cascade. It's just not going to do that much damage, and it's not worth the cost. There's many better reds out there. So luckily he happens to have 2 other red moves, Light Disruption and Heavy Strike. So Light Disruption requires you to have a yellow tile out first before you can use it. What it does is it converts up to 2 enemy strike or protect tiles to basic tiles, and for each tile that you convert, you're going to be doing damage. The damage difference between 3 and 5 at red is huge, both for really all 3 versions of this move. I can tell you the math, but we're talking about the difference for Solar Beam is between 1,115 to 2,710. That's 1,595 more damage. His yellow is also going to be leveled up by well over 1,000 damage. So I think that you really need the red at 5, ignoring the other comments I made about yellow just sucking in general. So what this does is it's basically like the Daredevil move, where Daredevil has his radar sense and he would get rid of an enemy strike or protect tile and deal damage. But this is requiring you to essentially be spending 15 AP because you have to have the yellow out before you can use the red. So some people might say, well, yellow is a separate move, it has damage reduction, you have to take that into account, but no, I don't think you do have to take that into account, because it could very easily get matched away before you even get a chance to use your red if you don't use it immediately after yellow. These should be looked at as one move that costs 15 AP. So you're essentially going to be getting rid of a strike tile or a protect tile for maximum of 3,654 damage if there are 2 tiles out. Again, that's still a horrible AP ratio. I can try to show you it in action, but I don't think you'll be very impressed. Okay, so as you can tell, I just used the Density Light move, and this changed from Solar Beam to Light Disruption. So Bullseye luckily has been gracious enough to provide me with 2 of these projectiles, so I'm going to use Light Disruption on them. Okay, looks like random bubbles, and I did 3,654 damage. That's it. So as you saw, while it could theoretically be useful, I don't think it does enough damage to justify the cost. So again, I really don't think you're going to be using yellow and then red ever, at least if you want to win. So that leaves us with our last possible move combination, which is blue and then red, and that uses the Heavy Strike move, which does damage to the entire enemy team. It actually, at 3 covers, so one thing to also consider is that you're stacking the blue on top of the red, so it's doing additional damage over what it says in the description. So if you have 3 covers, you're doing 1,217 damage to the enemy team, but really you have to add in the blue damage from the density heavy tile. So you're going to be doing, basically, remember this is the entire team, so if you were to hit all 3 enemies for full damage, you're going to be doing either 4,818, 5,151, or 5,820 at 3 in red, and then in blue 3, 4, and 5. If you have if you have red at 4 covers, you're going to be doing at blue 3, 5859, at blue 4, 6192, and at blue 5, 6861. And finally, if you have red at 5 covers and blue at 3, you're doing 7944. At 4 covers for blue, you're doing 8277, and then at having both 5 in red and blue, you're going to be doing 8,946 team damage. So that's really starting to get into good damage territory. This is basically the only thing that Vision is going to be good at, which is providing a red AoE damage. And it costs 15 AP, which is a lot. And I'm going to talk about why even with this he's still not that good, but I just want to show it to you in action, and we'll get back to discussing the Vision. Okay, so let's see his red after using his blue. So we're going to use a heavy strike. So you're going to notice the damage it does is going to be a total of 2,982 per enemy. So that is a decent amount of damage. Well, we've now seen all of his moves, and I think that we can see that basically his yellow is semi-functional. His blue could potentially be very good for cheap damage to quickly kill somebody off at only 5 AP. His red is useless unless you use his blue and then his red to get maximum effect, and that's 15 AP, which is a lot for any move. It is a very damaging move though, and it is interesting to note that there's only 2 other red AoE moves. One of them is Colossus, and it does significantly less damage even though it is cheaper, and it's also conditional, ironically. Colossus has to be in front to get the maximum damage from that, and the other AoE is by Sentry, and he's also useless. So it seems like they are coming up with a pattern here at D3 where they make red AoE damage characters useless, because that's basically what I would consider Vision. He is just too dependent on his density tiles to be of any use, and it makes you also have to change your entire team composition to get the maximum benefit of those density tiles. So even though his red does have 3 different possible moves, it's really quite bad. So going back to why I think he's bad overall, is that on defense the AI will never play him properly. He has 2 low AP moves that you can only have 1 up at a time. You could very easily launch Density Heavy and then a turn later launch Density Light, or vice versa. You'll never get the maximum benefit of the 2. And then he's never going to use red in the optimal situation unless you get lucky. So on defense, the AI is just going to be horrible with him. He's going to be the easiest character to kill. It will be annoying dealing with his heavy density tile dishing out some damage, but because he will most likely get 1 blue off in a match, but I wouldn't be so worried about it. I'm not going to ever be afraid of fighting Vision because of his red. So I just don't think he's worth that much effort. So let's talk about possible teammates though, because if you are going to use him, and let's be realistic, you will have to use him in future PvEs as essential characters and in PvPs. So PvP you can only get you would only have 2 characters, and then you would have 1 other. So let's pretend you're not playing his own PvP, so that you can have him and one other character plus the essential. So you want to maximize his blue or his yellow density tiles. So to do that, there's only 3 other 3-stars which have the necessary colors to maximize that, not have any conflicts. So that would be Blade, Iron Fist, and Loki. So you're still not going to have an outlet for green with Blade, you're not going to have an outlet for black with Iron Fist, and you're not going to have an outlet for green with Loki. You'll have full rainbow coverage, but you're not going to have actual move usage. In addition, I think that even though you might be tempted to use other characters with him, they would all have conflictions with his rainbow coverage, as well as potentially using reds instead of his red, which would negate the entire purpose of bringing Vision. So these are really the only characters you can use with him to maximize his red. That's all he's good for, is his red, basically. So what if you're playing PvE? Well, for the 3rd character, if you're using Blade or Loki, I would use Grey Suit Black Widow. It gives you an outlet for the green. You don't have any conflicts because her red is lower than his in damage, and you also have a purple, which could be useful. And her green is great. I think that's one possibility. That's the only one I can think of with those characters, to not have any other conflicts. And then if you're going to use Iron Fist, I would bring Mystique. While she does have a blue move, it's 10 AP, so you're not very likely to cast that over density heavy. And she also has a very strong black that could one-hit an enemy, although you don't necessarily want to one-hit an enemy because you might want to cast blue and then red, so you want to get the max impact of the AoE damage. But so that's really, I wish I could come up with more teams, but unfortunately they would have color conflicts in either skills or matching. So overall, I would put Vision at mid-range at best. He is useful for dishing out some cheap damage with his blue, and his red can do some great OEE damage, but you can really get all of those better with other characters. So I would put him at low mid-tier range. He's definitely not worth killing yourself over for in any events. So I hope you've enjoyed this analysis. Please subscribe, leave comments on your suggestions for other characters, and I will hopefully have some matches following this video so you can see him in action in a bit more detail with these different teams I suggested. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.